So Leon's asked me to have a kind of interview. He's working on a project. They would like me to ask some questions, and I decided to record this session, this, I guess you can say, interview number 2, just in case he asks things that a lot of you guys ask, which I don't always answer. So hopefully there's a lot of value in what's going to happen. So yeah, stay tuned and see how this goes.
How do I put the camera on? Oh, there we go.
Okay, wait, mine's coming out in a sec.
Lucas is my name. Leon's actually my brother.
Oh, okay.
I'm using his account because I couldn't figure out how to use my Skype.
Well, that's fine. That's
yeah.
good.
So first off, thank you so much for taking a little bit of time and confirming the interview for me. Hold on, let's turn this up a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if it's to do with the project and stuff like that, then I'm all in. I'll do the interview for you. It's fine.
It definitely is. All right, then let's just get right into it. Maybe you can start off by maybe just saying a little bit about yourself, what you do, and
yeah, sure. Well, I'm Ryan James Cropper, but I like to be called Ryan JC, so I take the first initial of my middle name and my last name, and I couple them together. It's just like something that I enjoy doing with playing with words and letters and stuff like that. And also I like seeing other people's reactions to different names that I give them. You know, I tend to find out that if you use a different alias or a different name, then people tend to behave very much differently to what you're called. But I'm into stuff like metaphysics, or more like psychology of the mind, dealing with consciousness and being able to manipulate your own consciousness to experience certain things, which some people may call mystical experiences. And there is one main ability that I've had for a very long time, which was astral projection. Now, it's not just astral projection that I'm good at using. I've also been doing dream interpretations, understanding your subconscious mind and its influence with your external reality to build on your dreams. And I've also been working with lucid dreaming, how to deliberately put yourself into a lucid state and experience things such as flight, walking through walls, what most people want to do when they want to lucid dream. And there are differences from dreaming, lucid dreaming, and astral projection, which we'll probably get through this interview. But yeah, I've been doing that, studying myself, and then I've been teaching it to other people. And so far it's been really good. I've got a YouTube following that's been going on, a YouTube presence, and that seems to be growing, which I'm glad that a lot of people are actually interested in this kind of thing. I didn't think it would go off so well when I first started my channel, I think just over a year ago. But yeah, then you contacted me on Facebook, so that's pretty much
awesome.
it. Yeah.
Thank you. It was actually pretty funny because your video was the first video I saw after I had my astral projection experience. I actually had one when I was 13, but my most recent one. And then your video was one of the first ones I saw, which was pretty funny. And it's right when you were starting off, you had like 5 videos, and so I'm like, okay, let me just see if you maybe want to contribute something. So I'm pretty excited. So let's just get right into it.
Yeah, sure.
You're talking about astral projection. Mm-hmm. Maybe you can explain to the people that have never heard of the term, or like most people don't even know what lucid dreaming is. Maybe you can just explain what astral projection is. Yeah. And maybe, okay, let's start off with astral projection. That'll be probably pretty good.
Astral projection, what is it? Well, you've got astral projection and you've got astral travel. Now, a lot of people know that there are certain bodies that people inhabit. And throughout this existence, this life in 3D, you inhabit your third dimensional body. Well, the thing is a lot of people have multiple bodies, which they don't even use. When you die, your physical body breaks, yeah, but you don't actually die. You just transform and inhabit another body. And that's when you'd go to the astral realms. This body is suited for the astral realms. Now, there are many different types of astral realms. And the cool thing with your astral body is it can resonate and it can vibrate to a certain frequency, which will take you to these astral realms. Okay? Now, astral projection isn't something that no one cannot do. Anyone can pick it up. It's a very easy skill, but it's best to know how to do it rather than just laying in bed and trying to will it to happen. You had an astral projection experience. You said that was when you was 13. What was that like?
Well, it was pretty much like I was with my grandma. We were in Belgium. We were playing. I was playing with the neighbor kids. We were playing soccer, and the night before, and then I went to sleep and I was super excited. I had a lot of fun, but I was really tired. So I woke up in the morning sometime, and exactly, I woke up in the morning. The light was shining through, and I was awake, and so I'm like, okay, let me just use the bathroom or something. And I try to get up, and that's when I discovered the sleep paralysis state, which totally shocked me because I thought I like slept on a nerve and was paralyzed or something for the rest of my life, and I was so afraid. I had no idea how afraid I was. And then like if it didn't get any worse, I couldn't move anything, I couldn't scream, I couldn't do anything. And then like I thought it could get any worse, but then I just felt like I felt someone in my room just like watching me from the corner. It's one of those like that feeling when someone's like behind you and like looking in the back of your head.
Yeah.
But it's really intense. And so then my next thought was I was being possessed. So I was pretty.
Oh no, that wasn't happening. But yeah, astral projection. That only happens when your astral body isn't like proper used. It's like walking for the first time. With your physical body, you have to walk for the first time, you fall over. But with the astral body, you just don't. If you're not used to using it, it doesn't move. Or you can get up and you feel incredibly heavy. Or you can get up and you can look down and like your torso stretched really wide. Stuff like that, because it's very malleable in form. And then you got astral travel, of course, which is when you're not using your astral body at all. You're actually using a different type of consciousness to leave your body. And this is what people who are so-called clairvoyant or remote viewing, that's what they call it, where they can take an aspect of their consciousness, and when they're out, it's completely formless. They have nothing to them. They can't see the hands, the feet. Even if they looked into a mirror, they probably wouldn't see anything. And then that can travel quite long distances also, and that's actually possibly easier to do than astral projection because there's less effort required to do so. Or you can couple the two and you can use that to see where you're going, and then you can astral project fully with your astral projection body. I noticed that when you remote view, when you take a part of your consciousness outside of your body and you go to another location, it's not for very long. It's like you see glimpses, or people would say visions, images will just appear in front of their face really fast. But once you do it with your astral body, you can stay there pretty much as long as you know how to not ruin it for yourself. Otherwise, if you think, okay, where's my physical body? You think about your physical body, you get slammed back into your physical body. If you get scared or excited, your physical body, the adrenaline kicks up, it whacks out your state of mind, you come straight back to your body. A lot of people, they're afraid of the unknown, and a lot of people, they see things in the astral realms which look similar to what they may see in TV. And obviously now they've got those thought forms that they've built up from watching it in their past, the TV. So they have these expectations of things that are going to go wrong. That scares the crap out of them. And then it's over, they snap back to their physical body. So astral projection, yeah, that's pretty much the basics of it. Covering what it is, including astral travel. I do a lot of astral projection when I have time, and since I figured out how to do it by looking at my past when I was a child doing it, I can literally, if I have time, just lay down and get into it and start doing it by myself, which is really cool ability to have, because that feeling of knowing that you're going to die and thinking that there's nothing afterwards vanishes. As soon as you come back on your first astral projection travels, as soon as you come back, it's gone. And that feels good.
Wonderful. Since this is a documentary about lucid dreaming, how does astral projection and lucid dreaming, how do they relate? Do they tie into each other? Are they the same thing? Are they like just variations of the same thing? Maybe you can expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, variations of the same thing, but not the same thing. The variation side of it was a good way to put in it. A lot of people think that they've had a lucid dream and they can check off astral projection off the list. That's not the case. Lucid dreaming deals with your inner world. It deals with thought forms. It deals with suppressed memories, feelings, which are trying to show up within this state of sleep in order to get you to solve it. Because when you suppress things like emotional trauma or anything that deals with what you've been watching on TV, what can happen is it creates a thought form which gets pushed back to your subconscious. It takes energy because it's staying there. You're not using it. So it's robbing you of your own mental consciousness, so you can become fatigued easier when it comes to you paying attention to something. And it becomes a massive issue because then when you try to clear your mind, especially when you're going to sleep, you'll notice that you'll start to get those images flooding into your head of things that you've been doing for the past month or past year even. So lucid dreaming, the benefits of that would be to analyze your psychology of your mind, what's distracting you, so that you can become more focused in the now and get things done properly. That would be the best benefit of lucid dreaming. However, most people want to experience flying, but flying would be best done in the astral realms because it feels more real, not only than lucid dreaming, but it feels more real here as well. Because here you can't fly, but in the lucid dream you can fly, and it would mimic the feeling that you was flying here. But in the astral realms, if you was to fly, it would knock both of these places out. There's just no comparison. So astral projection deals with the outer subconscious. It deals with being outside of your body, interacting with entities and going to places which you can't go to in your 3D body. And lucid dreaming deals with your inner subconscious, which deals with all of your thought forms, all of that thinking that you don't know how to manage, and then it just gets shoved to the back and distracts you. But astral projection definitely is the way forward to go when it comes to you learning about other entities, or even how this reality is made up of. It's like what people call the Akashic records. When you're out in the astral realms, you tend to attract a lot of experiences in the astral realms, which makes this realm seem much more clearer as to how it's put together. And if you get enough knowledge, you can really start to bend this place and make it more like a, I guess you could say, a dream come true. You can literally make anything you want in 3D happen, as long as you know how it's put together in the first place. So it's like you're peering into the subconscious of the constructs of 3D reality when you're astral projecting, and then you're peering into the constructs of your reality when you're lucid dreaming.
Wow, that's amazing. Crazy. You were just talking about other entities in the astral plane, and what's that about? I mean, if you're telling someone, I'm having this experience where I'm talking to other entities or dead people, how do you justify that? With their belief system, maybe. I don't know.
Wow, with their belief system. It depends. I mean, if you're going on what other people are saying you're seeing, then you could misinterpret what you're seeing, and it can set you up for a disadvantage interaction. Somebody can take advantage of you at that point. Because it's like, oh, they're going to believe me if I say I'm this person. And in the astral realms, you're very formless. You can look whatever you want. So if somebody who's used to seeing with their eyes and not feeling the person's intentions, you know when someone's bad, being negative to you, you can feel that they're lying to you, stuff like that. Well, if somebody's really 3D and they're only focusing on what they're seeing, and this entity knows that their entire life, they've brought into all of these divinity systems, all these beings, and they're looking up to these people, then what they would do is shapeshift and look like them, and then probably trick a person into doing stuff. Or maybe they just like the power that it gives them. The best thing to think about is, okay, if you're going to meet a new entity, which is basically like meeting people on the street, how did you used to view these things before you started watching TV or before you started looking at other people or listening to other people? Because when you're a child, you don't think of the entities as angels or demons or anything like that. When I was a child, I just saw other people and I just thought they were normal. I would see entities, I'd be in this realm, and I could look through and see into the others, and I just think they were normal. Even noticing they looked completely different. Some of them had different colored skin. Some of them didn't even look physical. They looked like they were made out of light, which was just like blurred around them. It was really cool. But entities, yeah, you get good ones and you get ones that aren't so good. You'll never get a really evil one. I don't think, no. I mean, think about it this way. Right now, you probably can't go in a spaceship and go to another planet and see a star system, right? Because we don't have technology. But if that alien or extraterrestrial died, and astral projected over here, what you'll be seeing is something that looks completely different to what you're normally used to looking at. And a lot of people would see these beings that look so different, and they would call them things such as demons or negative entities because they look ugly. And really the problem is people tend to judge what they don't understand, and it's through their judgment that's what creates the fear, and that's what stops them from doing this kind of thing. So you really need to be like universally I guess you can say judgmental, or even racist when it comes to other beings in the astral realms. Otherwise, you're just going to start thinking, you're going to see something, you're going to start thinking about what you've heard someone else say, and then that's going to determine the actions for you, rather than you just thinking, oh, he looks strange. I'm going to speak to him, see where he's from. You know, and that, with no fear at all, and then you'll stay in the astral realms a lot longer, rather than being snapped back into your body and thinking that a positive experience was a negative experience, when really it was fine. You know, so perception and interpretation in the astral realms really will make or break an astral projectioner. Definitely.
Okay. Since we're talking about the, are there any dangers of going out of body? I mean, you were talking about a little bit already about the entities, but I mean, are there any dangers of maybe just like not returning to your body? That's probably a common question you hear all the time.
Yeah, you will return to your body. You would have an incredibly hard time not to. You know, it gets incredibly frustrating when you're trying to astral project for a long period of time, and you can only make it a couple of seconds because you're thinking about your physical shell. The only other danger the only danger I would think of for astral projection would be on the mind, the person's state of mind. Like I said before, if they're into that side of dogma, of thinking and expectations of other things that they've heard, then they come back and it terrifies them. It can cause a misperceived trauma, a traumatic experience. You know, so it's literally all in their head. That side of things, when they think that everything's negative when really it was a positive thing. So they'll bring back the negative part of what they thought they saw, and that could probably damage their mind and damage their behavior, damage how they think or view things, and probably make them in a very bad state, because they'll probably leave the house saying that demons are real and all this, and I've experienced hell, and they'll probably go nuts within their own dogma. That is what I would call crazy. You know, when people start doing that, that is crazy to me. But that would be the only disadvantage of it. I mean, when you're in the astral realms, of course, people can touch you and you can touch them. When you're here, you can touch people and they can touch you. It's the same thing, you know? So you could... The only really cool benefit is, in the astral realms, you have, like, abilities to ward off things. If something comes near you and touches you, and it's like their frequency is too different, then it could either burn them, or they can just not be around your space and they can just run away. Or they can't even come near you, stuff like that. So your astral body kind of has like a self-defense mechanism anyway, in order to protect you. That only goes down when you think that other beings can cause damage or harm to you. That's when you're pretty much turning off your mechanism to protect yourself. Once you know that you're doing it, it's like it activates that shield, and then anything that wants to go near you or touch you just can't do it. So really, it's all in how people perceive the things, you know, the notions, the ideas. That's what gives them the power, and that's what can take it away. Astral projection.
Nice. I was just thinking. I just had a thought in mind. Way to go. Okay, here we go. Is astral projection a natural process, like dreaming, or do you have to be a predisposition for it? Like you were saying how when you were a child you were already seeing all these entities and everything. Do you have to have a predisposition for it, or is it a natural phenomenon that occurs within everybody?
It is a natural phenomenon. It is a natural phenomena, but the only problem is in this society we're trained from birth to fall asleep and be unconscious. So we automatically have the programming to fall asleep rather than astral project. If we were brought up with astral projection, then we can have half and half. Or if we were just brought up on astral projection, rather than being taught to ignore your dreams and to fall asleep unconsciously, then we will be a nation of astral projectioners instead. So it really does determine on how you can better manage your time, so you can astral project in the afternoons rather than at night when you're groomed to fall asleep. And overcoming your I wouldn't even call it natural, it's kind of unnatural. Overcoming that laziness of just falling unconscious and switching it with the awareness in order to astral project consciously. So say you're like 20 now. Well, if you want to do it like half and half, then logically you'd have to do it for 20 years astral projecting, right? But I've been doing it for my entire life because I've been overactive. I was never able to go to sleep. I was never able to just fall unconscious because I was always intrigued with the thoughts coming up into my mind. It triggered a state of awareness which allowed me to do this sort of thing. So from a young age, I haven't been going to sleep. I used to stay awake because I used to be afraid of the dark also, for stupid reasons. What other people would say, you know, the boogeyman, stuff like that. I used to listen to other people say that nonsense with no experience backing what they were saying. Very gullible younger me, and a lot of people were like that. So I used to sleep with the crack open on the door, so the light used to come into my room. That would stop me from falling asleep and falling unconscious because I was always thinking. And then I would end up developing astral projection, you know. So my entire life I've been able to go to sleep whenever I want. That's very easy to do. And then I've been able to astral project. But it's only based upon that way of thinking, of being brought up.
Alright. I feel you. How do you perceive astral projection? Maybe you can explain it a little bit, because I'm trying to bring this topic. It's not really tangible. I'm trying to get people to experience it a little bit. So, how do you perceive an astral projection? How does it feel like? How does it feel like when it comes on? I know with me, it's usually intense, like vibrations. I don't know if it's different from person to person, or it's the same. I don't. Maybe you can expand on that a little bit.
It will be the same for people beginning the vibrations. As they get good at it, the vibrations will die down, and it will feel more like a movement, like your bed shaking. You know, it will be completely reactant to how you're thinking, your process in doing the astral projection. So if you start getting out of the way of stopping yourself from astral projecting, then obviously the bed will stop shaking. So there's no fear about that. No one's pushing your bed. You know, you don't need to freak out about that. That's what I used to think when I was younger. But then as that phase goes out, as you start getting better, it will turn into more of a vision. Or in other words, you'll be laying down and it'll be like you can see through your eyelids. And then you're thinking, wait a second, my eyes are closed. How's this possible? And then you go to get up and then you're in the astral realms. After that, what tends to happen if you've been doing it long enough is you could end up literally being in one location and then just finding yourself somewhere else. You do not lose consciousness, but you do lose all awareness of your physical body and sense of direction. When you fall asleep, you lose consciousness. You enter a sleep at a unconscious stage, but then during this unconscious stage, you may become lucid or self-aware of what's going on. You have to fall unconscious to go into your consciousness. But astral projection isn't like that. So, yeah, that's pretty much how most people would develop if they're starting to astral project. But think about it this way. Okay, this is how I used to look at it when I was younger. Before you were born, you was in the astral realms. It's where you originated from, you know. If you go further back than that, you go to the source, which is basically like, I used to use the analogy of a jug of water and a load of shot glasses being people's bodies. You would pour the consciousness into the shot glasses, then you get people. These people would then go into another dimension and then forget that they were part of the source. So the way, I'll explain this easier. Yeah, the way I look at it is, because you've been put in this body, you lose your memories of where you was before, because your body can't hold it all. It can't hold all the information. So in order to come here, you would have to forget who you was, knowing that you'd probably remember down the line. Most people remember during their life, but most people don't, and they only remember after they die. So you could either wake up now and remember where you came from, who you actually are, how everything's put together, why you are who you are, why you've chosen the situations within your life, and the development that you chose for yourself in this lifetime. Or you can ignore it, be pretty miserable, because that's often what happens when people ignore their true nature. They tend to buy into everything else, and then they become more and more unconscious, and they die at a worse state than they came into the world. That is a problem, because then you'll end up going to the lower astral realms, for starters. And if you've been placed upon dogma, it's going to terrify you. And it's going to take longer in these realms, especially because you can't physically die in the astral realms. It's going to take longer for you to piece together your mind and to figure out where you went wrong. So it could feel like an eternity, some sort of limbo type state until you eventually get clear-headed enough in the astral realms, piece yourself together to go to a more higher state of awareness or consciousness, to the point where you're then moving up another level to another state of existence or another astral realm. And then the higher you get, you start to meet people who've already done this. Okay, and that's when you start to meet what people would call ascended masters, basically people who've already done it, and then they came back to teach other people, and then they left again. So you'll start to meet other people who know all about this game, this 3D dream. They know about how it's been put together, and they will congratulate you on getting to a certain point, and then you just keep going up and up and up, and then life becomes way more adventurous, magical. Everything becomes more light because you're moving out of this density to another one that's more higher. It's the things you do there. Each realm, each density, each location, each astral projection place has a different amount of limitations on what you can do. Some realms you can fly, some realms you can't. Some realms, when you're flying, it feels different to how you'd fly in another place, you know? Some astral beings would be jealous because we're solid here, whereas in some realms, they can't even touch the floor. You know, it's pretty much like that. So you need to take advantage of what you can do in 3D, because literally 3D, gravity, this is all a gift. You're only going to experience it maybe once, unless you choose to come back. But otherwise, if you're in another dimension, yeah, you can do things differently. Walking through walls, it feels very strange. Sometimes you can feel going through the wall. Sometimes you just feel like smoke and you just go through it. And then you materialize on the other side. You know? So yeah, that's pretty much, yeah.
Great. You've condensed all my questions, like you answer all my questions in like one big answer. But I do have one more, actually. I mean, it's all good. It sounds awesome. It sounds fun. It sounds logical. But I want to know, and the people that are going to be listening to this, they also want to know: is this a real phenomenon? Is there scientific evidence to back it up? Because you can tell me whatever you want.
Yeah.
And I can tell anybody else whatever I want, but is it real? How real is it?
To me, it's real because I've done it, obviously. The only way I can actually prove it is to teach people. That's why I started teaching it and making sense of it. I invite people at the possibility of this new state of being, this new experience. I invite people to hear my story. It's true, otherwise I wouldn't be saying it, right? I've been saying it my entire life. So, yeah, until they can actually listen to what I'm saying and do it for themselves, they won't know it's real until they do it, because they can't remember what it was like before they were physical, right? There may be scientific evidence, I don't know. I haven't checked into that. I tend to just teach from my own experience. I can't say that somebody's tested it and there's been evidence. Maybe somebody who's watching this knows and they can drop a comment below or something, or a link to a study, scientific study, but scientifically, I don't know. When I was younger and I was looking into it, I saw a bunch of people posting videos, especially when it came to 2012. A lot of people started posting videos of them accidentally astral projecting, having dreams that they didn't think were actual dreams. They actually thought they were real. They felt realistic, and they started questioning whether or not they were dreaming, whether it was real. People started to answer questions, people who were doing it, and people started to ask a lot of questions because they thought they may have already done it. You know, so it's kind of like a phenomena. It's like a new kind of thing that people are stepping out and asking for answers for their questions, for things that they may have already done. You know, so astral projection, yeah, you're most likely going to get people believing in it once they start doing it or experiencing something similar to it. You're never going to get somebody in the astral world or somebody here who's good with astral projection coming up on TV, most likely, to say, yeah, it's scientific and getting all these lab tests done on them. That's most likely not going to happen, because that's going to take too much time, whereas already a lot of people already started doing it. So it's like we already know instinctively that it's possible, these altered states of consciousness. Now it's just up to us to actually try it out for ourselves, rather than looking at it from a scientific, third-dimensional, hands-on basics, because it's not hands-on. You can't put your hand inside your mind and play with your consciousness. You have to think, you have to control your thought patterns, and then you have to exercise that and then utilize it to experience these other states of being. So think about it this way: you're a thought being, your mind before your body. So you need to be using your mind like you used to use it, rather than your physical body. And then eventually, once you start listening to other people's testimonials, their experiences, stuff like that, then you can start looking into certain meditations to do, learning how to manipulate your consciousness, really go into your psychology also, how you view it in the first place. That's a big block for most people. They don't want to accept that it's even possible. Because if it's possible, then that means that this must be true and this must be true. No. If it's possible, then you need to do it and find out for yourself. You know, you don't want to be bringing all that baggage and all that belief that you've heard of other people to prevent you from experiencing something new. But that would be the only thing I could give advice on, whether it's real. To me, it's 100% real because I've been doing it my entire life. And I remember, because when you start astral projecting, you remember how you was thinking before you came here in 3D, before you was physical. So I have all my memories of where I came from, stuff like that. I can do it today, I can do it tomorrow. I've done it in the past, I've done it a lot of times. I've built a channel on it. I actually teach people how to do this. So for me, it's very much real, and it's more real than this place is because I've experienced every reality. You know, I've gone down to 2D and I've gone higher up. So I feel very well adversed with my experience being alive. To me, life being alive isn't being 3D. It's being able to operate in these other bodies that you have to experience other states of existence. That's life across the board. And then you get all of life's experiences from all different states of perceptions, all different realms of thought. And then you can come here or go to any other place. So then you feel comfortable knowing what you know. And then life gets incredibly easy once you know how everything's put together. So yeah, to me, it's real. To other people out there who are thinking about doing this, don't say it's not real. And if you're saying it's not real, be honest with yourself. Why are you saying it's not real? You know, be on the fence with it. It may be a possibility. It may not be. Think about your past. Have you possibly done this already? You know, and then look for answers yourself. Look how to teach yourself how to do this. And then you'll find out, and then you'll be your own source of validation when it comes to astral projection experiences, or even astral travel.
Yeah, that's the only reason I believe it to be real, is because of the experience I had when I was younger. That's the reason I looked into it in the first place. Last question. Well, I have one more question. It's a little bit more of a philosophical question. You've already touched on it a lot, but just one more time, just to recap. Why do we dream? Or why do you think?
People dream because they're unconscious. You dream the dreams that you dream because your subconscious mind, which you should be all one consciousness, but unfortunately, because people don't pay enough attention to what they're doing in their day, they tend to build up a lot of crap. When you dream, your subconscious gives you the chance to get rid of everything that's bugging you. You know, people say, I'll sleep on it. They say, I'll sleep on it because they're going to dream, figure it out in the dream. Your dream will interpret the situation in very abstract ways. You may wake up, think about your dream, and it will be completely different compared to the situation you had the night before. But it still means the same thing. And depending on how you responded in that dream will depend on how you feel the next morning. So that will make the decision for you. You'll then be like, okay, I'm going to hire him the next morning because I slept on it. I said I'll sleep on it, whether or not I give him that job. They don't even have to remember their dream. And they're still going to make the decision because that feeling comes with it, the subconscious feeling. Your feelings that happen within the dreams when you're unconscious depict your lifestyle the next day, how you're going to think, how you're going to react, how you're going to behave. So you can go to sleep lucid, clear up your subconscious by tracing back the thought form which you created within the present moment in 3D, which started in the first place. You can trace it in this lucid 360-degree simulation of your subconscious. Find out where it came from, get rid of it, fix all of your problems, and then what will happen is you'll stop dreaming. You'll stop going to sleep and being unconscious and dreaming about things that need your attention. And you'll be able to manipulate. You'll be more self-aware of what's going on and utilizing it to create your day before you've even had it. So I can go to sleep today, have a lucid dream, play with my subconscious, and wake up because I can predict that my actions the next day will get me to a certain point in life. Dreaming will stop becoming that point where you're distracted, and it will become a point where you're mastering your actions. You know yourself 100%, you've got rid of your shadow selves, which is basically aspects of yourself created by you behaving certain ways which you're not impressed with. You don't like the way you behaved maybe in your past. you've done something in action you're not proud of, it suppresses, it becomes part of your subconscious mind. Then if you get enough of those, you create a thought form, which is basically a condition where your personality splits in half. And then you can create like a shadow you. That will show up in your dreams. It may terrify you. Yeah, it's everything you don't like about yourself. You figure out where it came from, change the perception, or just understand how it was that you behaved that way in the first place and why you behave negatively. It disappears. You then gain the consciousness which has been distracting or which has separated from you. You become more aware. You start cleaning things up, and then every night becomes a mission to fix yourself rather than falling asleep. After you get to a certain point, then you get really good, and then you want to do astral projection. You start changing the way you think in order to breach certain realms, get into certain places. You need to think a certain way to get to certain levels of being. These levels of being gets you into certain realms of the astral realms. Not only that, but 3D also. You learn a lot about this place by observing your own consciousness. A lot. And you can tell a lot about people by observing yourself. Once you master yourself and it becomes a point where you only dream to fix yourself, you'll come back here and you'll know pretty much everything about everyone else. What they're going through, how they're thinking, what they're gonna probably do in the future based upon how they're thinking. You could even take their character, put it into a dream, manifest them in front of you, and then speak to them and watch them respond. And you'll be surprised as to how accurate they'll respond as if you were doing it in real life in 3D. So people dream because they're backed up. But then you fix yourself, and then you play with the thought forms. And that gets you into experiencing new levels of consciousness. So that's pretty much why people dream. Right? And if they dream because they're backed up, they're only dreaming simply because they don't know how to fully operate their consciousness. Because they're not aware of it, because people aren't taught this in schools, right? So it's going to be like that for a while.
Nice. Thank you. We have a bunch of great material we can work with. That was very inspirational. I thank you so much. Yeah, you've answered all my questions. I maybe have one more quick request. At the beginning, we're trying to make like a little montage of everyone telling like excerpts of their most important or craziest dream. We're just gonna like piece it together, and it'll be really abstract, just like an intro. Maybe you can do that. I know you're great at that, at telling your dream experiences and astral experiences. So
it's my you want my craziest dream or my craziest astral?
Whatever you want. That doesn't matter. Like,
because my craziest dream would be interpreting my experiences at the time, what I was going through, which made the dream so crazy. It's really, I have to remember, I have to think back. Once you start fixing the dreams, you start understanding why you had the dreams, they tend to just erase, because you're taking back what's been robbed of you, that distraction. So the dream... I can tell you my craziest astral projection.
Please do.
Simply because what made it crazy was how it was made. The place I went to, it was 2D. Everything was 2D. It looked cartoon. Right, it looked cartoon. Right now you're seeing a lot of color everywhere when people wear clothes, right? Well, in 2D, it's like you're looking at some sort of artwork constantly, everywhere. And every time I went to this place, I do an astral projection technique where I start seeing patterns. Very confusing, incredibly advanced patterns. And as I see these patterns, it puts me into a trance. And then straight away, I lose all sense of direction and my bed turns into a pattern. My bed turns into a pattern, the walls turn into a pattern, and then the bed just started falling into pieces, like pieces of a puzzle, right? It falls, and then I find myself lifting up. Next, it's like, you know, an orchard or a garden where you can see... It's like a doorway, but it's made out of like leaves, stuff like that. So I walk through the doorway, and I'm just in awe at the fact that everything's 2D, because it looks really cool, because it looks cartoony when everything's 2D, because it's not 3D, right? I'm walking around this garden, and I notice about 3 people dancing. They're dancing. There's always these 3 girls that are dancing on my far left. And then this one guy with slacks and a hat will come along. And he will start bowing at me as if to say, welcome, you're here. Then I'd come round the corner to follow these other 3 beings. They're quite small. Quite small. They look like children's size. But the way they move and the way they behave, they're much older than they look. You know, and they would take me. They deliberately move to attach my attention to what they're doing, and they would guide me through the garden. Now, the garden is pretty much like a maze. You can't see anything on the way out. You know, when you're outside, you can't see nothing. You have to be inside to see everything, and you need to be invited in. Okay. So, I go through this maze, and it's like a video game at this point because everything's 2D. So you're walking this way, then boom, it's this way. It's not like you can see around you 360 degrees. So it's very strange. It's very new to me. And as I'm going around these garden bits, I meet the center. Every time I get to the center, there is this woman. She's quite large, and she has like a, not like, kind of like a bandana, but not so cool. You know, one of those what old people wear on their heads. And they'll tell me to sit down. So I sat down on the chair, and then they draw my attention down onto the table, and the table will turn into these patterns, like a chessboard. Right? And then it would spin this way. Then once it started to spin, instantly it hooked my focus, and then I went straight into the table. Now, this is where it gets cool, because as I went into the table, it no longer became 2D. It went past 3D. And it went to a new kind of way of seeing reality. I'm not sure what place it was, but it looked much better than this place. The way people moved was so fluid, it looked unnatural to this place. And they were made out of light, they were translucent, and there was groups of dragonflies. They looked like dragonflies, they were long and they were see-through and they were made out of light. And you know when you see... Can you hear that? It's raining.
Yeah.
Really bad. I hope it doesn't ruin this video.
Yeah.
But you know when you see like a horde of fishes and they're swimming in synchronicity, like perfect, they would do that and they would be to my left. And it's like everything there is deliberately there to draw my attention there, to keep me there. And then I ended up going down like this passageway, which was built out of all of these different places, these different realms, and it all merged together to build like a passage. And as I was going towards the passage, I was being led by about 8 or 9 other beings, which were like this big, on the floor, and they were walking and looking up at me. There's some thin being next to me that had a really long neck, you know, holding my hand and guiding me. He had no face at all, like no face. It was very strange, these beings. They tend to replicate their environment. Okay, whatever dimension, like 3D here, we replicate the animal nature, the animal kingdom. Well, they pretty much did the same thing. And then I was taken to a new level. I lost form of myself, and I was just like this astral travel consciousness, this orb. And I was shown the levels of creation from the very start, from the very basic dimension, how people thought, why they thought that way, all the way through to the other dimensions. And as I was being shown this, the only thing that I could make you guys understand what it looked like is if you've ever seen those monks do those sand paintings where they make it really intricate and then they ruin it at the end. It looked like that, but instead of being an image, it was more like reality around me from different dimensions pieced together to make the puzzle. And as I was being shown through it, I was getting a lot of knowledge as to how it was done. It wasn't like I was being spoken to. It was like I was remembering how everything was pieced together. That was the most freakiest astral projection one, because I got so much information as to how people look in the astral realms, in all of the realms actually, and how they think, why they think that way. It was very diverse, and it was really quick, and it was all in one go. It was like I was just channeling it, just being absorbed like a sponge. Normally when I learned things through school, learning a book or learning a subject would take days. or weeks or months, especially if you're learning another language. But this was like in the space of like 20 minutes. Everything. I learned everything. And then when I came back, I just started to laugh. And then I kept laughing and I went into a laughing fit because I was so fascinated or surprised as to how far I went and what I found out and what happened. I couldn't put it into words and I instantly just burst out laughing. There was a person in the room that saw that because I was doing it in a room because I was practicing astral projection with other people. And she looked at me and just thought, oh, she's like, what happened? What happened? And I just kept laughing. I just couldn't speak to her. But yeah, that was probably the best astral projection experience also because it's like I went through every plane of existence and learned everything all in one go. Whereas the other astral projectionists or the other astral projection experiences that I have, it's been little pieces at a time. But those little pieces make a massive effect in 3D, but the amount of information I got, it would take more than one lifetime to put in videos and put on my channel. Definitely. But yeah.
Did you think that was do you think that might have been because of the person in your room? Maybe she amplified your, I don't know, your consciousness? I don't know.
No.
Could that have been the fact?
It's difficult when you're doing it with someone else, astral projecting.
Okay.
If you're better than them, because you've been doing it for a longer time, you can feel everything that they're feeling. You get to a point where it's like you're one person, but there's only two people in the room. So you can feel their consciousness. You can feel their effect of their consciousness, making them want to fall asleep. And you've got to compensate. You've got to bring your level of awareness and focus on it so much that you overpower their consciousness. And only then will you astral project. Otherwise, it just wouldn't work. And you'll need to get to a point where you're literally laying in bed with someone and it only feels like there's one person there. So it's like you're syncing up. Otherwise, if they're relatively new and they don't know what they're doing, it can be a drag. It can stop you from doing it. Definitely. It takes some time to build up to that.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you very much. Very inspirational. It's inspired me to pick it up again. I had to put it down for a little bit because of I haven't been getting much sleep because of uni and work. But I'm dying to pick it up again.
You do it after work. That's what I used to do when I used to work.
Well, I usually do it at night. That's maybe my problem. And there's a time there was probably 4 months where I'd wake up every third night. I'd actually fall asleep. I'd black out, then I'd wake up with these vibrations. They'd just wake me up, or wake up and I'd be spinning really fast, just around my own axis or something totally bizarre. But I always get so excited or so scared. It's always always a 50-50, like a mix of both. That nothing really ever amounts to anything.
Yeah, you just need to figure out what's making you scared or excited. Get rid of it. I use logic a lot to get rid of my fear in the past. I made a video on my channel when I talk about when I died and saw shadow people and conquered my fear. I use logic with that. The fact that with some beings that take your energy, they're only taking your energy because you're vibrating in a fear-based energy. So you give it off in the astral realms and they use it to make themselves stronger. Knowing that I gave them their food made me incredibly happy. Instantly my fear turned off and I was like, you should be scared of me, not the other way around, because I can starve you, you know? And then, yeah, that instantly made me very happy and it stopped me from being scared of any being, no matter what they look like in the astral realms. And that was in my early days doing this, because obviously I was also groomed at a young age with dogma. Things I was seeing, it must be the Grim Reaper, he's got a hood on, and then everyone tried to scare me with it. And I had to decode that as well. I had to get rid of that also in order to go to another level. So yeah, it's awesome.
Nice. I'll definitely try it. Yeah, thank you so much. I think we have enough footage.
Awesome.
That's great. We got some it's really inspiring because we got some great people. We got an author who wrote a book on this dreaming. We got several psychologists. It's going to be pretty cool.
Definitely. Show me the video afterwards because I want to see this documentary.
Yeah, definitely. But the only thing that you might have trouble is it's going to be in German. So we're probably not going to overdub your parts, but most of the rest is going to be in German because it's.
I don't mind. I can read really fast. I'll subtitle it.
All right. Awesome.
Program.
We'll do that. So thank you so much again. It was really inspiring and a great contribution.
Thanks. Again, I'll speak to you soon about the video.
Yeah, it's gonna be a while. I mean, we're still gathering material and editing, and so.
I'm patient. Okay.
Awesome.
See ya.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Bye. That was fun. That was so fun. I like that. Past 2 days, I've been incredibly involved with the stuff that I'm doing. So involved. And it's like I'm on autopilot now. I just keep creating content over and over again, and it's like I'm just watching myself do it. Like there's a seed inside my mind which I can peer through the windows and just see this animatron robot creating content, and I enjoy it. It's getting easier. And I was never like this on camera before. I used to be very terrible. I wish I kept the first video I made that I was going to upload on YouTube. I didn't even look at the camera. I didn't look at the camera. My voice was terrible. Could barely understand what I was saying. I was mumbling. My voice was projected over there so you can't hear anything. I should have kept it, because if you're passionate about something and you keep doing it, eventually you'll pick up the skill. So if you're out there and you've got experiences, make a video about it. Start a YouTube channel. If you don't want to go that far, then just make a video about it and shoot it to somebody who's interested in this kind of thing. Who knows, they may put it inside of a video to better spread awareness of astral projection or lucid dreaming or whatnot. So I'm Ryan JC. It's going to be about do it for this interview, my second interview. The last one was on the radio. How to get over fear. I talk about when I died, and I talk about battling shadow people. Go check that out on my channel. Subscribe for more regular videos like this, and I'll speak to you guys pretty soon.